Welcome to another episode of Sitecore in 300 Seconds Plus. My name is Chris Janning. I'm the Director of Commerce Presales. In this episode, we'll be reviewing how business users can merchandise in a Sitecore Discover application. This will be broken into three sections. We're going to quickly review the platform up front again. Then we're going to show how machine learning is created, defined, and then maintained. And then finally, we're going to walk through the Commerce Experience Console to illustrate business user capabilities. I love this quote in the context of Sitecore Discover. Presenting highly targeted products at the right moment out of thousands of products in a catalog is the essence of converting a visitor into a buyer. Personalization, defined for Discover, is shopper intent. This is all about presenting more relevant content based on what I'm looking for at that moment in time. It has nothing to do with my browse history yesterday or even last week. It is not segmentation-based personalization, meaning it doesn't care that I'm male and in my 40s. It's all about what I'm looking for right now. Discover is a commerce module platform. This means it provides multiple modules that can be used independently or together to drive the user experience. Preview search, full page search, product recommendations, plus content personalization such as banner images and HTML blocks are drag and drop components for business users. These modules all sit on top of a user profile that is curated by clicks and events and continually being updated with each click. Each query generates a response from Discover, which is personalized by the affinity or product attribute scores found in the user profile. This drastically improves the relevancy of the products on display in each module. Let's talk about machine learning. As defined by Wikipedia, algorithms build a model based on sample data, known as training data, to make predictions or decisions without being explicitly programmed to do so. In the case of Discover, in order for it to use its machine learning, it needs two types of data as input. The first is the customer's products, categories, and offline sales data. This is imported during implementation as a CSV, then afterwards is updated incrementally by way of APIs. The second data type is events and clicks from the site. This can be achieved by adding a JavaScript beacon or tag to begin the tracking. This beacon is also responsible for collecting all of the analytics, which are also provided in the CEC. Now that we've got products and events, algorithms will create over 24 data sets based on those data types. There are multiple algorithms being used. These are such as collaborative filtering, or what's also called wisdom of the crowd. This combines product and event data to provide data sets such as co-viewed, co-bought, and co-added to cart. Now, these data sets are contextual, meaning that they require a product or user to be in context. For example, a product is in context when I'm on the product detail page. Now, on the other side, there are non-contextual data sets, which you will typically see on the home page or even the null results found page. No context is required, so it's products that are usually sorted by popularity or even release date. Once the data sets have been generated, we can configure how they are used. This is achieved by creating multiple recipes, which could end up in hundreds of different dataset combinations. First thing you do is you choose one of the data sets that we just created. Then you've got multiple workflow steps that can be dragged in place. You can, let's say, rank the results using any metric found in the data. So sort by date released, inventory, margin, etc. Or you can use a filter to reduce the result set by a specific attribute. Remove all men's shoes that are blue. The final option is choosing a personalization strategy. This could be the number of products needed to view in order for a pivot to occur, or the products or attributes that are going to be used to influence the relevancy of the results. These recipes are used as the building blocks for preview search, full page search, site, and email product recommendations. This is the Sitecore Discover Commerce Experience Console, or CEC. It's the day-to-day tool for business users to maintain a Sitecore Discover application. It is role-based, so there are different levels of access upon authentication. When logging in, I'm presented with the site performance dashboard. This analytics is extremely deep inside Sitecore Discover. We're going to cover this in an additional session, but the key point to remember is that this is complementary to a Google Analytics and not meant to replace. Overall, it's going to provide the health of the Sitecore Discover performance, and this means what are different individual modules doing and the personalization efforts that we're providing. For our purposes today, we're going to focus on page creation and maintenance along with widget creation and maintenance. A widget is simply a module, which is what we discussed previously, so it's an individual piece of Sitecore Discover functionality. Let's go back to our pages. I've got two created as placeholders, a product detail page and a landing page. I'm going to select our product detail page to start, and you'll notice as I'm clicking through, it's usually anywhere from 2 to 3 clicks. This is on purpose. You want to make things as easy as possible for business users in terms of performing their tasks as quickly as possible. Go to my default variation. There is nothing on this page right now, so I need to add some widgets to it. Let's click Select Widgets. I can do a couple things here. First, I can select from previously created widgets inside my widget library, all the recommendations, search results, banners, and HTML blocks which have been previously created. Let's click Create Widget. I'm going to create one from scratch. We're going to use a product recommendation on the product detail page. We'll give it a simple title such as similar items, a unique ID, a variation name, and then where will it be used. Simple setup. Now the next step is where we're going to circle back to what we discussed earlier, because this is when we choose a recipe. And as I scroll down a little bit, you notice the size of the scroll bar here on the right hand side, there's quite a few in here. This backs up what we talked about as far as the number of possible combinations of data sets when you're building out these different recipes in terms of using those different workflow components. We're just going to choose this first one, this textually similar products ranked by newness. Our next step is just to choose a style, so you can have different ways to lay this out, and then we're simply going to review it and save it. So the widget's been created. I'm now back on my page layout. What I can do is add more modules to the page, but I'm going to skip past that and go back. Now what it's going to do is going to provide me with a preview of how this looks. More importantly though, what's my starting set as far as the products that are going to be returned. I can now make changes to this, but I'm going to do this in an additional demo here coming up. So that's the simplicity with choosing a recipe as a starting point for any type of module and then ultimately placing it on a page. Let's go back out to my pages. Now let's work on my landing page. Again, 2 to 3 clicks or less. Go to my default variation. This time what we're going to do when we click Select Widgets, I'm going to choose one of my previously created. I'm just going to choose my full page search, and I'm going to drag and drop it to the page. If I wanted to, I can add banner images or HTML blocks or even some recommendation to this as well, but for our purposes, we're going to skip past that. Let's save that. So again, now I'm presented with my default result list as far as how this is going to look. So it's at this point that a merchandiser can basically step in and make some changes. For example, do we want to display things like SKU, or do I want one-day views or price down at the bottom of my facets? Also, do I want this leather slim wallet or this belt to show up in positions 1 or 2? Let's manipulate that. So I'm going to go over to my 3 dots here and click and add a rule to the active variation. This is a rules-based platform, meaning that we have different triggers that can be put in place as far as when you see a particular module or its variation. Let's click on Add Rule now. And the first thing we need to do is specify the trigger. So there's 2 different types. You've got your site or visitor context. Site means what am I doing on the site? Where have I been? What have I searched on? What have I navigated? What facets have I selected? So if I select a certain brand, a certain type of product category, or a color or a gender, or the more common approach is what am I going to search on in order to see this particular variation? So this will be keywords, and I can basically type in shoes. Now this means that when any individual searches for shoes, they're going to see this variation. I can also add additional combinations, so it can get quite granular. Go to visitor context. This is all about who the individual is. What do we know about that person? So real simple things like what type of device are they on? So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to choose mobile or tablet. And then maybe they're coming in from the country of Germany. And then the last example could be something like a UTM campaign value found in the parameter. Something like email 2022. So it's extremely granular when you start building out these different combinations. But the point is that you want to identify certain target users and provide a more customized and personalized experience. Let's pull those off. And we're simply going to use a site context of shoes. So that's our trigger right now. Let's go to merchandising. And you'll notice what happens is that my result list now updates. It's going to show me what the default listing of the search results will be if I search for shoes. This is when a merchandiser can step in and begin to manipulate the look and feel. And a couple different ways that we can do that. But on the right-hand side, what I can do here is I can maybe search for boots. And this is going to bring me back a list of all the boots that are in the product catalog. But more importantly, I can add things that are not necessarily in this result list. So what I'm going to simply do is grab this boot and drag it to over position number 1. Now this boot previously would not have shown up in the result list because it's technically a boot and not a shoe. I could do the same thing if I wanted to add a shirt to the result list. So what you're doing here is you're giving merchandisers the ability to basically force whatever they'd like to into a certain search result list. Now you'll notice when I hover over the top of that boot now, you'll see a thumbtack. That means that this particular boot has been pinned to slot number 1. Each of these slots can be manipulated in many different ways. So maybe in the case of these gold shoes, I don't want them to show up in position number 3. I want to put this down to the very bottom. So we're going to go ahead and bury that one. And then maybe with these black boots, I don't want these in position number 2. In fact, I don't want these to show up at all. Let's just blacklist that altogether. That means we're going to take it out of the result list. So that's one way to manually add specific products or categories to a result list by way of drag and drop. But there are many situations where marketers actually want to get in there and they want to add groupings of products, not just individual products. So in that case, what you can do is add by attribute, and maybe I want to go with brand. So the use case here is that boost all products that are shoes that are the brand of Michael Kors. So I'm pushing Michael Kors to the top of the result list. And this could be an and or operation. So let's do an and operation, and we'll scroll down and we'll find release date. Release date is within the last 7 days. So now what this is going to do is it's going to boost all shoes that are Michael Kors that have been added to the product catalog within the last 7 days. You can do this with bury, and you can do this with blacklist as well. Go back to my slots, and I'm all set as far as what I want to do with the search results. Now there's more left to the page that I can manipulate. So let's go to settings. Now, as I mentioned, this is your search results page, so that means your facets, what facets will be displayed. So I can use the default setting here under global rules, or I can enable configuration and basically take control of the facets in this particular situation. I'm going to go ahead and ask the engine to only show me facets which are covered in quite a few products. It doesn't make sense to show facets, let's say in the case of one-day views, that only have 2 values. Also, skew is a poor choice for a facet because it's extremely unique. You're going to have thousands upon thousands of combinations. So we're going to blacklist that one, remove it altogether. And then we want to show price up at the top. So we're going to make sure price shows up at the top of gender. So I now have quickly manipulated what facets I'm going to display and in what order. Textual relevance is all about search. In what order or what precedence of fields do I want to apply this search term? If I search for shoes, does it apply to brand first or category names? So you can control the textual relevance. Personalization. What fields will be used to ultimately perform the pivot? Meaning by search for shoes and it's under category ID, that is a higher precedence than anything else. So you can control the personalization capabilities here by how you order the attributes tied to the products which are being returned. On top of that, the last n events. I think this is the most interesting setting in the engine because this is what determines a pivot. The default setting is 3, meaning that the engine is going to take over after basically 3 clicks. But in the case of a product catalog with a wide variety of SKUs, you might want to be more conservative and bump it up to maybe 5. The last piece is sorting. What fields do you want to use for sorting and in what order? So the merchandiser is given basically complete control over the look and feel of the search results. And that not only includes the ordering of those search results, but ultimately the types of facets and the sorting displays which are going to be returned. So I'm going to save that and publish it. And let's go back to my default variation. And we're going to take a look at how it looks now. You'll notice that nothing's changed. It's still the default look and feel as far as having SKU as a facet, and then this wallet and this belt is at positions number 1 and 2. That's because nothing's been triggered. So what you can do is you can test it. So under query, what I can do is just simply type in shoes, because that's my trigger. And now what's going to happen is the page is going to update, and it's going to validate the changes I've made by having price, gender, and size in terms of my facets, and ensuring that that leopard print boot is in position number 1. This is merchandising inside Sitecore Discover. Perform your task in anywhere from 2 to 3 clicks or less, geared towards business users with full drag and drop capabilities across preview search, full page search, and product recommendations. Know your shopper's intent with Sitecore's product discovery.